Good evening. I'd like to welcome all of you to the City Council work session of Tuesday, November 28th. And first, we have approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So this evening, I've been 11 months as mayor and I've never had to use this. Usually it's in the corner. I don't want to use it tonight, okay? Because the key tonight is to be respectful and kind to everyone, the speakers, the presenters, and the audience. This is not a pep assembly. So we want to hold, if you have to sit, like I used to tell my students, if you have to sit on your hands, sit on your hands, but we're going to be kind and respectful this entire evening. There's a 3-minute limit, and the timer will be visible on screen. So when you're speaking, you're going to watch the timer on the screen. If you can get it under 3 minutes, we'll all appreciate it, but we won't cheer because this is not a pep assembly. Okay. We will first take public comment from the audience in the council chambers, and then we will have the Zoom participants raise their hands and to be called on to speak. Please remember to start with your full name and your mailing address. Take a little bit of time off by not saying post office box, just give that number and a quick zip, and we'll be on our way. You may not give your time to anyone else. What we want to do tonight is hear from each individual that wants to speak. So we're going to start with some brief presentations to establish a baseline of the project history, and we are going to be brief. So 3 minutes. There'll be several speakers. Okay, and we're not going to ask questions back and forth, okay? The intent of the council is to listen tonight. We are just listening. So, okay. So the first person that I would like to speak is Jennifer Beatty from CETA.
Thank you. CETA and I personally appreciate everyone here in person and online. For those of you who are here that aren't aware, a quick recap of your design team includes civil engineers, landscape architects, structural engineers, interior designers, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, acoustical engineers, and sustainable engineers. And that is for all 3 projects. We have also engaged on the projects, the Oregon Energy Trust of Oregon, to help align their goals with your needs. The process of community outreach has embodied many formats, and we appreciate everybody who has participated to date. The key is hearing a range of opinions and that all are comfortable sharing their opinion and story. We appreciate the perspectives that are coming tonight and welcome it all.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear a little bit from Bruce.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to talk a little bit about the City Hall and the police station. The City Hall Police Station project has been contemplated for at least 20 years. I understand that at one point it was estimated that the cost of the combined buildings could have been under $4 million. It has been a priority for several councils. It never got done, maybe because of the cost at the time. Recent efforts to improve our resiliency to a disaster led to a deeper dive into how the current facility would serve our citizens in a true emergency, be it seismic, weather, or forest fire event. You can have all the ingredients for a healthy emergency response, but if you can't request and manage help, collect and share data in real time, prioritize various sub-elements of the event, and then address those elements based on their priority, you will not serve the need of the public to the degree that they deserve. City had a local architect review the feasibility of retrofitting this building. This was the summary result. It is the opinion of the Tolovana architect and our consultants that the useful life of the current City Hall building has been realized. Since it was constructed for the storage and sale of building materials, the construction techniques employed were not meant for higher occupant load or increase structural capacities of a public building. When considering the many phases of expansion over its history, the building is simply not able to be remodeled in an economic manner as compared to constructing a new facility. A few of the shortcomings: many of the walls are hollow masonry block, which are known to crumble in a seismic event. This is one of my favorites. The wall that's supposed to be holding up the roof, this wall, is now braced by the roof it was supposed to hold up. Police officers have an approximately 30 by 24 workstation where they've been expected to process biological evidence, drug evidence, and eat their lunch. Part of the foundation shows serious sinking, especially in the finance department. During a minor renovation completed several years ago, it was discovered that the material supporting the foundation was a combination of soil, sawdust, and a suspicious liquid. I'll be happy to provide a tour of the facility after this meeting to anyone that is interested. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And now Leslie Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Leslie Jones. I'm with CETA Architects and Engineers, and I am the project architect for the City Hall and Police Station projects. And I'll just spend a brief moment looking back on our process to date, specifically as it relates to our community outreach efforts. We did conduct a series of community outreach events. We conducted 3 during our pre-design phase and 2 during our schematic design phase, which were more design oriented, for a total so far of 5 community outreach events. These took various formats, from open floor events with building tours of this building to more structured, formatted, station-based events in order to have more in-depth conversations about specific topics. We held these events at different times of the day and different days of the week, including having weekend events with the idea to encourage maximum participation and to get the maximum amount of feedback from the community. The results we published in an executive summary that is available on the city's website. In aggregate, we heard through both in-person participation, virtual participation, and written responses. We heard over 50 voices, which have influenced our design decisions and processes as we've moved forward. Looking forward from this point, we will continue to have community outreach events. We welcome all your ideas and input, as Jennifer mentioned, both tonight and moving forward in the process. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Dustin Johnson from CETA Architects.
Hi, Dustin Johnson, CETA Architects, project architect for the Cannon Beach Elementary project. Our public process for the project, very similar to what Leslie just described for the police station and City Hall, with one exception. And that's that we didn't have a program going into it. So one thing that CETA was tasked to do was to meet with the community, all the stakeholders, with the general public being one of the major stakeholders. And through a series of these community outreach events, and there were a total of 3 during the programming phase, to advise on a program for the project that best met the wants of the community as well as mitigated concerns of the community. We had 3 of those events during the programming phase. That was our discovery phase. They ranged in methodology from on-site, in person, to a town hall event in this room where attendance could be virtual. And for those who potentially couldn't make the community outreach events, either virtually or in person, we had surveys available to be filled out and sent in. In total, we heard from approximately 160 participants. Part of the process of gathering the information, though, There's also filtering it and making sure that we don't have any duplicates in there, people who we may have interviewed during a COE, a community outreach event, and then subsequently sent in a survey. We boil that down to approximately 100 unique voices. That was the basis of our executive summary, again, available on Cannon Beach Elementary's website. Then into the schematic design phase, we continued to have community outreach events. However, this time it was after we were able to put pen to paper. And so that process was bringing forth a series of designs and then subsequently narrowing the number of designs down to one that we were approved to move forward with pricing. And that pricing budget was reviewed as the community outreach event number 7. I would stress we had more than 7 community outreach events, but the 7 that I spoke of just now were specifically geared towards the general public. We have a number of outreach events for tribal members and other stakeholders, business owners, and neighbors. But where we're at in the process now, we are at the tail end of design development, looking to move forward into construction documents. And that I can turn it over to Mayor Bart.
Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to introduce 2 members of the Clatsop Nehalem tribe. And they have been involved in this process for many years. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dick and Roberta Bosch.
Hi, everybody. If I'm going to stand if I can. Don't like looking over. It's been my pleasure and just a heartfelt task to bring the magic at Nacooz to life again and to bring it to the community, not only of Cannon Beach, but to all of the visitors who come here. Nacooz is so personal for many of us. We have in the audience, there's 3 tribal members whose either their great aunt or their great grandmother lived in the village and were some of the last residents. Joe Scoville, who was our hereditary chief, passed away in 2014. He started the process of bringing the life back to Nacooz by meeting with the school district superintendents back 20 years ago when it was still operating as a school. He met with them and talked about the future of the school and if in fact it could be a tribal, not a tribal center, but an educational, environmental, ecological place for learning. And through the years, the tribe was at one point was ready to purchase the property, but decided that it would be better to find a different way to do it, to bring it to life. And we continued to raise money. We have raised thousands of dollars over the years to document the existence of the village, to do the LiDAR for the underground radar, to hire Doug Doerr and other people to document the history, the ecology, all of the pieces that we would need, we meaning the bigger we, the tribe and the community as a whole, to bring back the magic that was once there and to use it as a center where tourists could come in, community members could come in and do workshops, have gardens, and just to being under the clock is fun. But at any rate, to bring that to life so that we can all share what was once there. Thank you.
Well, Peach Blue Seed Stuff. My name is Roberta Bash. And I want to take you a little bit deeper into what was once there and what is still there and always has been there. By starting with, as a young person walking up there in Nicola, I was talking to the trees. And I'm sure many of you can experience how you can feel them, you can feel their love. And you look out over all the trees and down toward the ocean. And you think how beautiful it is. And they've been here for such a long time. And I promised them that I would be here to take care of them always, to protect them, to protect us, because they are a part of us. As Native people, we never have ever seen ourselves separate from the forest, the trees, the water. Those that swim in the water, those that fly above, and those four-legged that walk amongst the trees. We are all one with all things, not only on this earth, but every star in the universe. And as far as what this place means to us, I remember being with Joe Scoville and hearing lots of stories. Joe was our last hereditary chief of the Cotswold-Nahalem Confederated Tribes who had an experience as a young person growing up down in Garibaldi around here. But at that time, there was KKK. They were pillaging the tribe, and he saw many of his people get raped and killed. His family member got thrown out the window when she was a baby because she was a product of that. There's stories like that, and yet he still found peace in this world, especially as he talked about the Cotswold-Nahalem village, where his relative was born and lived her last days in this village here. And the stories of the beginning of the people here, and how Thunderbird used to fly among here and had a creation story here, and how the eggs rolled down the hill and landed here. I wanted to share with you that when we were asked to work here, we were asked as Cotswold-Nahalem people. And in that process, we also represented the people of Cannon Beach, saying, we love the people of Cannon Beach. They are who we are also. I remember hanging out with Jerome Arnold out there, helping to save little salmon and putting them back in the river. Many, many times I was out there with Neil Main, just sitting there watching, waiting for the elk, taking pictures. I remember talking about, let's not put a pathway through here. Let's people get out there in the middle of the trees. That's how important this land is to us. So we wanted to keep the spirit of the Native people alive, but we wanted to keep the spirit of the people of Cannon Beach going through history, even from when Dick talks about going to the tavern here in Cannon Beach. I forgot the name of the one that you guys used to hang out at. But also the people who went to school at Cannon Beach. So we made sure that we were there to represent everybody. And we wanted to stay humble. So humble that during this whole process in our culture, we humble ourselves in a sacred way, as I'm doing now, so that I don't carry anything bad when we plan anything for the future. That we stay open so that we can always listen really well, so that we can hear everybody in this whole process. And that's how we started this entire process. In every single meeting we came to, we reminded ourselves why we're here. And so that everything that you see here is in the plans, a product of our hearts, a product of our appreciation and love for the natural environment, for the trees, for the plants, for all things. And I wanted to share with you too, a couple of other things. The Thunderbird story, I found an old picture that you can hardly tell what it is. And it's a picture of a Clatsop-Nehalem man who had a huge tattoo on his chest of the Thunderbird. And the Thunderbird comes from the creation story. I painted that Thunderbird on this box. And Dick also has a tattoo now on his arm. That Thunderbird is represented as a garden in this new site because it's supposed to bring new. And so that's why the garden design exists there. I wanted to show you another thing. There's a patio there in the back. This is over 100 years old, designed and made out of the grasses that grow right here. And these are the waves. And imagine that person sitting there at the old site, weaving this. And so we wanted to capture all these things, like the circle in the back. One of our closest values as Native people is relationship and reciprocity. So we have circles so we can always keep that circle going so that the relationships can continue to grow so that it would always bring life. And reciprocity, never to cut anything down unless you're also giving in a gift so that all the universe will always stay in balance at all times. When we put in the welcoming man here, we had a ceremony before that happens. We've had potlatches, and in the background, there's always a ceremony. There's nothing that we do without making sure there's reciprocity. And we kept doing this over and over through the design process, trying to stay humble, trying to remember why we were asked to do this. So you see it in the design, in the cedar that represents all the trees here. You see it on the floor inside the building, what represents the map of all the people here and how it's changed throughout the ages. So every element, everything is done according to representing us, not only the Clatsop-Nehalem people, not only the history, not only the animals and all of nature, everything is represented there somehow. So that the beauty that you all feel, that we feel when we come here can be shared by visitors when they come. So that they can get out there and they can walk and they will know that they will leave it the same way that it was, or maybe even better. So that we can teach the lessons of reciprocity, so that we can teach the lessons of relationship, not only between people, but in our natural environment. So that we can always share who Cannon Beach is with the world. And I know Cannon Beach is beautiful because I knew Jerome Arnold, who touched my heart. And I know Neil May, who I used to see on the trails all the time. I thought I was the only one out there. He was there too. That's what it means to keep this alive. That's what I wanted to share with you.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone once again that the council will be listening to the discussions. There's not going to be a dialogue. And then I need to read a prepared statement. The community meeting is held to provide the public with a platform to voice their opinions on the building projects. Due to an ongoing appeal related to the elementary school rejuvenation project's design elements, however, neither the city councilors nor the mayor can address or provide personal opinions on that issue in this community meeting. That decision on the appeal has to be made on the record, so the city council and mayor cannot consider any comments made tonight when they make a decision on the design review process for the elementary school project. If you wish to discuss how the project does not meet the design review city code, please come to the appeal hearing on December 5th That's 1 week from tonight at 6 PM. And we can only consider the code questions. Okay? And so, again, remember, we're kind and respectful, and we're going to speak no more than 3 minutes. The timer will be on the screen. Everyone see that? Can you all see it even without your glasses on? Okay, so when you come up, full name and address, and begin, and then sit down and be respectful and kind. Okay, we're gonna start with the people on the row by the windows here. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment? Okay, how many of you in that row are going to, you guys are the lucky row, you get to go first. How many of you are gonna make public comment? 3 of you? Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Dee Zimmerly, 10880 Southwest Reif, REIF Road, Powell Butte, Oregon, 97753. I am Dee Zimmerly, Claxon Nehalem. My great uncle and aunt, Edward and Nancy Jervis, lived in the village here in the community. When the Cannon Beach City Council invited Claxon Nehalem to share our culture and history during the development of the Cannon Beach Elementary School site, I felt honored to be a part of the process. I feel the city and CETA have been respectful of what we have shared. Cannon Beach has a unique opportunity to change this property into a special place for residents and visitors to come together. Also, to teach how this land provided everything our ancestors needed, from food and clothing to transportation and shelter. Workshops can teach weaving with cedar, history, as well as culture. Part of our culture was to welcome the travelers on the water who stopped and asked permission to come ashore. The welcoming man is a reminder of that part of our culture. While they were with us, we would feed them. The food bank is a modern way of feeding those who are hungry. Our culture is integrated into the design. The native plant garden can teach about the plants that help sustain us. A gathering place encourages storytelling where families come together. It will be a place to share our stories and history. Our ancestors who lived here lived with the land. We used only what we needed and took care of what was left. If you harvest berries, you leave some for the birds. They need to eat too. It will be good to come to this place once it is finished.
Thank you. Okay, next in that row, that would like to speak.
My name is David Stowe. My address is 20216 Sawyer Beach, 4th Bend, Oregon. I'm the vice chair of the Claxon Nehalem. It's hard. It's close to our purpose. I had difficulty talking about it. I think it's the people who live there and what they persevered through and what it represents. Sorry, do the best I can, but Roberta captured that beautifully. And I just am so impressed with the design you guys came up with, and me and the rest of the tribe fully support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in that row.
Mary Peterson, 85 Palmetto Park, 971. In the last 20 years, our property taxes have doubled. The price tag of the projects you are promoting will make generational owners, such as my husband and I, unable to keep our property, our home, our only home, without becoming second short-term renters or selling it to an out-of-town buyer. We don't need the school project. We don't need the spending. We need conservative financial responsibility from this board, or council. I suggest we donate the land back to the Council of Nahalians. And we get rid of the debt that you are promoting. Thank you.
Anybody else on that row on the windows? Okay, now we're zooming up to the front row.
Go ahead, we have one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Barbara Murray, 1490-97110. At this point, I'm against the whole school project right now. We need to do the police department, the city hall. Maybe do the school project after the other things are already done.
Thank you. Okay, now we're gonna go to the front row, starting over on this side. Who would like to speak? Front row? Jim, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, this is a story that's not really related to the project, but it happened about 30 years ago. I've lived in Cannon Beach, or been a property owner for 60 years. Yeah, I have a lot of commercial property that I can. And I've always been a lover of history through college and afterwards reading Undaunted Courage, which is a journal of Lewis and Clark, which I think is the most amazing book I've ever read about what 33 or 35 people can do in a matter of a year and a half. But anyway, this was 35 or 40 some years ago. I was at home after watching Saving Private Ryan, which I thought, what an amazing movie by Steven Spielberg. And after that, I thought, why can't Spielberg do something about Lewis and Clark coming from Missouri up the Missouri River, staying with the Mountain Indians and what they went through, and coming into Cannon Beach and coming onto Cannon Beach and saying, this is the most beautiful sight in the life I've ever seen. And I thought the power of that really bespoke to Cannon Beach. So here I am, probably on my 4th or 5th beer. Should have maybe laid off and not had the 6th, but instead I went on the internet and found an address to DreamWorks, Spielberg's outfit. And I wrote a letter to them saying the same thing I'm telling you folks about the need for a documentary from DreamWorks on Lewis and Clark. I sent the letter off, put a stamp on it. I thought, well, I'll never hear anything. 2 or 3 months went by, nothing. About 6 months later, I go to the post office and there's a letter from DreamWorks. And it said, "Dear sir, we at DreamWorks take all of our ideas for projects from our development department, and anybody else who tries to pursue credit for any of our work will be approached legally for their ideas. You are not allowed to submit or take credit for any of your ideas." So much for that idea. Anyway, if you ever see DreamWorks or you ever see a Lewis and Clark documentary, you can thank me.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I as far as the project, I've always wanted some type of something to recognize the significance of Lewis and Clark in this area. And in terms of the funding for it, I've always wondered why the council doesn't pursue, obligation bonds or general revenue bonds like port districts do. And it's just a matter of prioritize these things, prioritize them so we don't overburden ourselves.
Your time's up. Thank you very much.
I will shut up.
I didn't say that. Yeah. Okay, next in this row, speaker. We're going right down the road.
I'm Jim from the chamber and I actually here to listen and.
Jim, if you need to come.
I'm Jim Pano, Executive Director of the Canada Chamber of Commerce. You know, I come to all the council meetings and I listen and follow along. And I don't really have anything to add except for that you have a lot of people here tonight with opinions. And it always seems to be, this is the second time we've had this where there's been a call to action and we filled this room. And a lot of what I've heard is people frustrated with not being heard. Having these opportunities to come and speak, however many you've had all along. And that's what I've been hearing at the chamber is will we be heard? So that's what I wanted to share. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next in that row. Thanks, Tim.
Tim Raby, box 429 Cannon Beach. But I have nothing to add on the spiritual legitimacy of this project. Dick and Roberta did a beautiful job there. And I don't have anything to add on the architectural legitimacy of this project. I think CETA has done a terrific job, and I'm kind of in the camp that says, let the professionals figure this out. What I think I can opine on is the fiscal legitimacy of this project. This project is based on a quirky law, the TLT law, which basically says all new monies, 70% of it has to go into tourism-related activities, okay? So we just increased the TLT tax by 1.5%. I believe it goes into effect January 1st. That money will come flowing like a fire hose and must be spent. And it must be spent on tourism-related activities. Now, the cool thing is there's also 30%. And the 30% is going to support our police station and going to support our city hall. So we really have to look at it fiscally and say, number one, it won't impact your property taxes. It has nothing to do with property taxes. It's TLT taxes. The TLT tax rate that we went to is average for the coast. We're not high, we're not low. And we need kind of that 30% to do the things that we hope to do, like the city hall and the police station. But we have to get the 70% first, and we have to spend that. And so this really is about kind of doing the fiscally responsible thing. We're not going to do general obligation bonds except as a way to kind of, I mean, we are going to do general obligation bonds, but this funds them. So we're doing the fiscally responsible thing. Leave it up to the architects, leave it up to the tribe. They're going to figure out the right architectural and spiritual thing for this project.
Thank you. Okay, next. I apologize, I don't know your name,
That's okay.
but I'm going to in a
I'm
moment.
going to in a moment. My name is Debbie Workman, box 433 Cannon Beach. My husband and I have owned a small duplex in Cannon Beach for 18 years that we rent out to local workers at a reduced rate. My concern is with the size and the scope of the project for the school. I think it maybe is bigger than it needs to be. My understanding is that the capacity of that building will be 500, and I have no idea where those people are all going to park. We have a huge amount of parking and congestion problems in Cannon Beach, which everybody knows about that lives here. And I think that some of the money that Mr. Ramey was talking about with the tourism tax, that perhaps that could be used to figure out ways to reduce the parking and congestion issues that we have here. I'm also concerned that with, at least with the design that I saw, and maybe I don't completely understand it, again, the professionals know more than I do. But it looks to me like that we would lose some of Nikas Park to be used for parking. And that breaks my heart because that's where I see Canadian geese and Roosevelt elk grazing and finding refuge. And I would hate to see that park be lost or go away because of that. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and the privilege to be able to speak here. I love Cannon Beach. I've loved it for at least 50 or more years. And kind of coming in new to this, but again, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, in row number 1. Lila? We're going in order.
Hi, Lila Wickham, box 208, Tolivana Park. First of all, I'd like to say, last week, or well, before Thanksgiving, we had a gathering and we were able to understand more deeply the Nehalem and Clatsop people's perspective of this special paradise that we get to live in. And with that, I would just like to say that what my vision of this is, that it is a gathering place and that we would be really especially blessed to be able to entertain a community that includes the Clatsop Nehalem people and the people of Cannon Beach and create a spiritual place that is valuable to all of us. The other thing I wanted to say is thank you for listening. The Cannon Beach Medical Reserve Corps said to you all, we don't want the police department in the tsunami zone. And you heard us. And I'm very appreciative that they won't be in the tsunami zone because they will be our saviors. The last thing that I'd like to say is don't forget the food pantry. People need to eat. We have an 18% poverty level in our community, and we need to be able to sustain those people. That's all.
Thank you. Next.
Kind of ditto on that. It's Rock Wickham, PO Box 208, Tolivana Park. I just wanted to say thank you to the city for allowing the Cannon Beach Community Food Pantry to use part of the facility there at the old unit. It's feels like full circle, where it used to be a gathering place where people got together and ate, and now it still is back there where people come and gather and get their food. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. It's a wonderful place for us. And if anybody has any extra time, you're looking for something to do, we can always do volunteers. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Rock. Okay, next.
And Siebert Werman, and this letter is also from my husband, Wes Werman, PO Box 778. Dear Mayor and City Councilors, thank you for the chance to speak tonight about the projects of our community. We hope that we all can listen with openness and discernment. We see the NACUS project as one of, if not the, most important and challenging opportunities we've experienced in all of the years we've lived in Cannon Beach. We believe the NACUS Village Heritage Site is a place that deserves the utmost care and respect regarding all that happens there. It is the northern gateway to our community. It is where the Clatsop Nehalem people lived for thousands of years. It is the place where many Cannon Beach children went to school. It is where many of us go now to enjoy nature near the Acola Creek estuary. The process for the rejuvenation of this sacred place may not have been perfect thus far. There have been and are misunderstandings, hurts, slights, and resentments along the journey. It is our hope that as a community, we can find what is good in this endeavor and improve upon it where needed, and go forward to create a gathering place for all to share, learn, recreate, celebrate, and be the best we can be together. How fortunate we are to have in our midst the Clatsop Nehalem tribal members who are eager to assist in this legacy project, to honor the ancestors at Nikus, to remember the Cannon Beach Elementary School students and teachers, and to join with residents and visitors so that all may experience a deeper relationship with the natural environment, history, culture, and the arts. Cooperation rather than competition is an attitude shared by many who are trying to bring this NACUS endeavor to birth. May we work together through any difficulties we may face with patience, kindness, positive energy, and perseverance to fulfill the vision of this unique ancient gathering place, NACUS. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, next, now I get everybody in the first row taken care of. Okay, next we're going to the third row. Third row, a little excited, no. Andrew? Oh, are you in the first row?
They're in the.
Second one. Hey, don't figure out my method.
All right, Andrew Connery, PO 664. I'm frustrated because I wrote something really beautiful with all these rhetorical flourishes, and 3 minutes is not enough time to do it. I think as it shows in this full house, all people that have been turned away, this is a discussion that needs to be a discussion. It needs to continue. There's a lot of people that are just got booted out, and it'd be really cool if I didn't have to hear myself echoing. Can you pause the timer? You good? Okay, so I'm going to read for a second and try to summarize, but I have way too much to say, and 3 minutes is not enough. The year is 2054. 2054. Cannon Beach will finally be wiring its final loan payments on the Cannon Beach Elementary School renovation. We're hoping that over the next 30 years, there won't be any disruptions to tourism, as all our capital projects, the school, city hall, and police station, are dependent on tourism taxes. I'm not going to go into the disruptions of the last 30 years, but you can imagine. But let's not be too gloomy. Let's think about between now and 2054, changes that might happen in this state. Maybe the state of Oregon recognizes the folly of restricting 70% of our hotel tax to more tourism. Maybe Cannon Beach could lead the way. Maybe we could collect some of its money and say, hey, we have real infrastructure needs. We have much better things to spend it on than tourism. Or we could sign up and tie that money up until 2054. Rather than react, we could lead. That's something I think we could all agree on. Oh, there's so much, so much.
Tell us how to lead.
Just
Remember, not doing that. Thank you.
bottom line is, I think there is a way to honor the tribe, honor the sacred site, but it doesn't have to bring more tourism. I don't know how more tourism helps our community. The logging industry, they're not asking for this. They don't see how it helps them, and I don't either. We have traffic problems, housing problems, and they're all stretched by tourism, and we're going to commit millions and millions of dollars, $500,000 a year in perpetuity just to run the thing. There are ways to honor the tribe and this site that don't include exacerbating our tourism problem. And I think this is a conversation that we all need to continue. There needs to be a conversation.
Thank you. Next in that row.
Anita Dewar, box 694-97110. As a private citizen, I will be reading the Cannon Beach Municipal Code. The purpose of design review is to exercise aesthetic judgment over development projects within the city in order to maintain the desirable character of the community. The community character is defined by having charm in the design of buildings, keeping buildings small in scale. Specific purposes of design review are to encourage development where the various structures, uses, areas, and site elements are integrated in a manner that is visually harmonious, to ensure that development maintains and strengthens the city's sense of place, which is defined by its location adjacent to the Pacific Ocean, Ecola Creek, and the surrounding mountains. The Design Review Board, in making its determination of compliance with the design review criteria, shall consider the effect of their action on the availability and cost of needed affordable housing. The arrangement of all functions and improvements have been designed so as to harmonize with the natural characteristics and adjacent sites. The design creates compatible relationship between the proposed structures and/or adjacent structures. Food pantry. If the project is unusually large, or if it is located so as to become part of an introduction to the city or particular district, the design acknowledges the special impact the project would have on the entire community. The design avoids excessive dissimilarity with existing structures in its section of town. The size, shape, and scale of the structure are architecturally compatible with the site and the surrounding neighborhood. The project includes a large structure. The design avoids a monolithic expanse of frontages and roof lines. If the project is unusually large, or if it is likely to become a village landmark, or if its location is to become part of an introduction, transition to the city, the design acknowledges the special impact the project would have on the entire community. The design of the project ensures continued privacy for the occupants of adjacent structures. The landscape design substantially complements the natural environment of Cannon Beach. And the landscape design acknowledges the growing conditions for this climatic zone and the unique requirements that its specific site location makes upon plant selection, salt, wind, and elk. Lastly, provisions have been made for the survival and continuous maintenance of the landscape and its vegetation.
Thank you.
You.
Next in that row. Anna?
Well, I hope you have your fast listening ears on because this is gonna go fast. PO Box 97-97110. Einstein defined insanity as the same act over and over again and expecting different results. And because I'm not an insane person, I've stopped attending city council meetings and reduced the number of comments. I cannot continue to come over and over again and try to make you see reason and consider the businesses in this town and expect a different outcome because it's just not going to happen. You only feel empathy for those who choose to live here and then complain about that the gates did not close right behind them. Businesses are the lifeblood of this character and what gives it, businesses are the lifeblood of this community and what gives it character. It was John Newman spending the morning out surfing and then cooking world-class meals in the evening. It's Jeffrey Hull painting amazing photos and paintings that we have in many of our homes. And it's Ecola Seafood serving the freshest fish on the coast. It's Bruce's Taffy being enjoyed around the world. And it's families who come to visit hotels like mine year after year, who never tire from walking down Hemlock Street, who go to the Haystack Rock and explore it and have an annual bonfire on the beach. And I'm sure it's businesses like the Bald Eagle Coffee Shop, Driftwood, and organizations like the Cannon Beach History Museum that caused many of you to move to this charming village full of village character. Many of you are proud of the galleries and the restaurants in Cannon Beach, but it's also the reality that these places wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the visitors that come to this town. If not for the visitors, our town would be more like Seal Rock with a few struggling restaurants and galleries that are unsustainable. But it's those tourists that patron our businesses that are denigrated, even though they subsidize our lives. Elected officials want them to pay out the nose rather than cover our own nut and expect businesses to collect and remit taxes as if we print money rather than work hard to earn it. In May, hotel representatives pleaded their case to city councilors regarding this overpriced school renovation, and we told them that our own meeting venues are not filled, so why are they building a competing product? Nonprofits came forward to appeal that they would have to apply for grants with another competitor, and they said, we won't do that, but then asked immediately afterwards, who do you get your grants from? Residents sought empathy for those who live near the facility who will now have huge events in their backyards with no parking, and the council didn't care. So this is an additional problem that future generations, my generation, will have to deal with, as Andrew stated, for 30 some odd years. And if you investigate the recent past of Cannon Beach, you can piece together a history of gentrification with historic homes demoed by absentee owners, fewer owner-operated businesses, and a declining population. And the elementary school will be another square filled into the gentrification bingo. So when it comes to these projects tonight, I guess all I have to ask is that you become fiscally responsible, and that's still a possibility. You anticipate giving the city manager a 20% bonus, which equates to about a whole person's salary that's struggling to live in this community. And that's just for progress having been made. And this is the person who claims that the food tax would cover the cost of the city hall and police station, and is obviously not covering it. And that's why hotels are being asked to increase the electric tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next in that row.
My letter's longer now, I'm talking to Hannah, so I'm kind of screwed. Eric Ostrander, PO Box 97. I'm proud of Cannon Beach. The amount of collaboration that businesses and individuals show on a regular basis is something to be proud of. The fire department working with the Cannon Beach Chamber to offer Haystack Holidays, the American Legion and the Wayfarer coming together to present the Giving Tree, and many businesses donating to the annual ham dinner. Oftentimes in Cannon Beach, if someone needs help, there are others they can turn to and lean on. In a community built on mutual respect, collaboration, and love of nature, art, and a simpler life. It's unfortunate that the city of Cannon Beach isn't an active part of this. Throughout the process for these expensive projects, there were ample opportunities for elected officials to have made an effort to reach out to those outside of their echo chamber, and they have failed. Like Hannah mentioned in her comment, the definition of insanity is making the same decisions and taking the same actions expecting a different result. When I helped gather the lodging partners to come in and present on May 3rd what it would take to elicit buy-in from our sector, the lodging industry, on the school projects, increasing lodging tax, we were entirely ignored. Some of the most important questions that are still unanswered: where is the data showing that this facility will draw tourists and to what level? The impact of this facility on existing businesses in the community, and a need for a $12 million event facility with an undefined purpose of tourist engagement and attraction within the northern portion of the congested downtown area. About a month later, on June 15th, Gary motioned to increase lodging tax, and it was decided, without addressing any of those concerns, to further shift the already overwhelming burden of paying for everything onto the visitors without a real plan of where the majority of that money will go and for what purpose. Yet another massive blow to the trust that those in town have for city decision makers, which may explain why you don't see very many lodging partners in attendance tonight or at many of the other meetings that you've had on this topic. I'm not going to go through all of the other concerns that were raised during that meeting. It can be viewed on YouTube, just like every city council meeting. A community center has a strong and broad support within this community, especially for this project, but this is not a community center, not with the funding source that's been dedicated. The funding for these three massive projects has been placed on the backs of lodging and restaurant partners in this community who work tirelessly and love this community and will likely never benefit from these projects. And the anti-small business actions doesn't end there. When Recology came forward a couple of months ago with a courtesy update on their rate structure, councilors asked the representatives if they could raise commercial rates instead of raising rates across the board. When the water rate structure was discussed, councilors requested that the base rate be increased for anyone with a 3/4 inch meter or larger. And in addition to that, increasing the per cubic foot amount for those meters that are 3/4 larger. This means that a family coming to visit Cannon Beach and staying in my 12-room family-owned hotel will pay more per glass of water and flush a toilet than I do in my little cottage, just because they don't live here. This is in addition to paying the lodging tax, which funds over 80% of the city's operating budget, paying the food tax when they eat out, and still putting up with the criticism from a contingent of locals that want the visitors' money, but don't want the visitors. I'm proud of our community, and I wish the city would be an active component in the collaboration that takes place constantly throughout our community.
Okay, thank you. Next in that row.
I didn't even know this was happening, and I had some people in this community say, Michael, you gotta go forward and speak. There was something I said at the last meeting that seems like it might have fallen on deaf ears, but I'm not sure. I just wanted to repeat it. I don't think any of this needs to be done in a contentious manner. I'm a big fan of reciprocity. I think it's huge. I think it's key to any healthy relationship. My advice was that you guys consider a ad hoc committee to the city council that was represented by local business owners to help advise you guys on how to better run the city with fiscal responsibilities. Coming up with ideas of how we could take certain revenues generated by the taxes and invest them in opportunities that would further generate revenues for other projects. Just think that the city should be run like a business and be a little more fiscally responsible. And I think you should consider this ad hoc committee. It's vital, because I think then people would actually be heard, the people that are business owners in the community.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else in row 3? Hey, row 2, it's your turn. How many row 2s are there?
Go for it. I made a big mistake last
Okay.
standing, so I just wanted to make sure. Thank you. Alan Barber, box 801, Cannon Beach.
Hey, remember, we're quiet, respectful. Thank you.
The statement is not being made as an employee of the Cannon Beach Chamber of Commerce, nor as a member of the board of the Cannon Beach History Center and Museum, solely as a concerned citizen. I moved to Cannon Beach in 2011 for what I thought was only going to be 3 months. I stayed here because I fell in love with the town and what we offered to the world. A place to unwind, enjoy great food and drink with your family, and take in the culture of our art galleries, as well as the citizen support of our municipal government, all in one of the most beautiful settings on the planet. 12 years later, I don't recognize the town I moved to. First, the prepared food tax split our community. Just when we thought we were mending relationships, we were faced with the school project. Everything that has been expressed here tonight so far, everything you're about to hear has been said already. A listening session doesn't help if you don't listen. This project is supposed to be in the spirit of cooperation, not competition. How are we supposed to believe that if you haven't heard a single word we've said? I can only hope that, in the words of Zig Ziglar, repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. I ask that you consider ways to scale this school project back to its original scope and intention. The current plan is too much for our quaint and charming town. Your peers on the design review board have already rejected the design itself. How can that not be a wake-up call? I read an email criticizing detractors for not having a plan or design. That isn't our job. It's yours. Those of us who will be around long enough to enjoy the space in its current design will also be saddled with paying for it. This project, supposedly for tourists, punishes them for using it by increasing the TLT room tax. Can you promise that the prepared food tax won't be raised as well, inflicting further punishment in the 30 years it will take for the center to be paid off? There currently isn't a single person on this council that I feel represents me, but I hope you'll listen. The reality is that I would be saddened but not surprised if my statement tonight was brushed aside. Somewhere along the way, you seem to have forgotten that your allegiance is to your constituents. Our voices and opinions only seemed to matter to you when you were trying to secure your position on the council. It must still matter now that you're here. These are not complaints if all we want is what's best for our town. All we are asking of you is that you listen to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I see there's a little chair switching around.
What? No. Yeah, Polly Hammond, 942 Cannon Beach. I have been passionate when I've come up here and spoken before. I have been humble in not stating what I have done in my past. But I want to take a little step back, and I want everybody in this room to think about a time, because I have a feeling that almost everyone here was in a position to have a young family with small children. And what did we have to do? How many times did we have to tell our kids, no, no, I'm sorry, we can't afford that. No, I'm sorry, not today. It didn't feel good to us. But then ask yourself the question, what does the word yes mean if you never say the word no? No, I'm sorry, we can't do that right now. It was brought to, at one meeting, there were 3 different levels of the community project. It was talked about in that meeting, and it was never spoken of again. It was brushed under the rug. So all of us that asked for that were told, no, no, you can't have that, because we aren't like-minded. We care about this community, and we want that center to be a community center. Humility and humble don't come with a $12 million price tag. They don't come with, that comes from love. We love this community. You love this community. I'm sure you guys have been here a long time now, making that trek, and you've come to love this community. But we want it to remain a small, quaint town without something at the edge of town that says, we're just going to be putting in a McDonald's next. So please think about our town. Think about the things that Andrew said and Alan said. We aren't being heard. And please think about those small, though your young families and the kids in school. Unfortunately, sometimes we had to say, I'm sorry, we can't right now. We need a police station and we need a community center. City Hall needs to be replaced, but that could even wait for just a little bit longer so we can all get our feet under us. And then we can start saying yes to a few more things here and there. What does the word yes mean if you never say it? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Laurel Hood, 295 East Jackson, Cannon Beach. I've been here for 50 years. I accidentally did 18 years of public service, thank God. Anyway, I just have a few comments, and I was reading through packets about particularly the presentation at Ecola. I have a couple of specific comments. Reading about parking for this facility. It's claimed that there would be no conflict in parking because of informed scheduling of events by the city of Cannon Beach. Who in the city of Cannon Beach is going to be scheduling those events? And if this is an event that is, or a facility that's supposed to be tourism promotion or tourism related, and you claim that you're not going to be scheduling things in the summertime, that doesn't click. That doesn't make sense. It also claims that there's nearby available off-street parking within 2 blocks. It's other people's off-street parking. Another key point, the 70% tourism promotion or tourism related. To my way of thinking, tourism related means when we have 90% of our EMT calls are for visitors, we could be spending some of that money towards the police department and the fire department and emergency services. Okay. The other thing, I was reading a letter from Jeff Adams, a letter to Hannah, that the facility will primarily serve visitors and tourists. And this brings me back to the preamble of the Cannon Beach Comprehensive Plan, which is supposed to be inclusive of the local citizens, not to the detriment of the local citizens. And this project to me looks bigger than it should be. I also agree with Jan Siebert-Warman, who testified ahead that the project needs to be simplified. I also have a question about the scope of review, whether the meeting would be on de novo or on the record. From what I understand, some of the public record does not reflect the public testimony. So if you're going to do a hearing on the record, you need to make sure that the record is correct. This community is a special place. And we are known for the incredible natural beauty that we have and the respect for the cultural, the archaeological, the historical sites here. And I think you need to rethink this project in its entirety because it's too big. I don't think creating a place for tourists to have a party is respectful of the history that's here and the community that's here.
Okay,
Thank you.
next in that row. Anybody? We're kind of going in order in the row, so if you don't get up now. Okay, come on, Liz.
They don't want to read it. So
I already made a statement. So.
Public speaking, that is okay. My name is Liz Scott. I'm the outreach manager at the Cannon Beach History Center Museum, box 1005 Cannon Beach. I'm reading this on behalf of the board of directors of the museum. And we thank you for the efforts and many hours spent on the redesign project of the NACU site, as it is an essential part of Cannon Beach's heritage. While we are not against this project, by any means, there is cause for concern for many local nonprofits, which would be duplication of services. The Cannon Beach History Center Museum is the town's only history museum and has been in existence since 1969, housing priceless artifacts, documents, and photos. The museum's permanent display features a Native American longhouse replica, along with a cannon that Cannon Beach is named for. And our permanent display tells telling of our town's rich history, excuse me. We recently received 2 separate grants to start redesigning the permanent display, which will involve moving the longhouse replica from the back of the museum to the front, and as well as expanding the Native history, which would entail working closely with the Clatsop Nehalem Confederated tribes as they tell their story, as we cannot do that for them. We hope that a site plan can be developed that is not repetitious And our vision is a future where we can work together for fantastic outcomes. Cannon Beach community can be proud.
Thank you. Okay, next, that row.
I need to. Visually. I'm here in support of all three projects, but I would like to speak about the Nakus project. I'm here to support the Clatsop Nehalem tribe, as they were living in Cannon Beach long before the rest of us arrived, and they experienced the wonder of this place for thousands of years. They lived in harmony within its natural beauty, and we should honor that. This is a multi-use facility that will be used for education, will work in support and cooperation with other community organizations. We currently do not have a large facility for multi-educational purposes in Cannon Beach. In the Nakus project, we will attract those who have the same values for the love of the environment, the wildlife, the natural beauty that exists here. We will educate people about the significance and protect what is profound, with a vision of the future of what we want it to be. We will dream and attract people who want to connect with something greater than themselves. In the magic of the tribes have always known and valued within their own souls. It will be a welcoming place for the people who love Cannon Beach and who are eager to experience and discover and learn from the history, culture, and ecology of the area. I support the tribes and their dreams. In welcoming, I support the discord in this town is not welcoming and harms our souls. We should honor the tribes, stop insulting people we don't agree with, and learn to be kind by showing grace and respect to others, such as our city council, who we elected, our city manager, the architects, the builders, the tribes, and the desire to and wisdom of what they have helped create over many years and many, many meetings. Saying that it looks like a casino building is derogatory and disrespectful and has undertones of racism. Saying that you support the tribes and undermining their wishes and dreams. How can one live in such beauty and resort to such misinformation and negativity? The discord makes me feel conflicted, and the division is having a negative impact on our town. It is sad and awful to tear each other down and listen to constant criticism. We all have a right to our opinions, but we need to leave the toxicity and unkind comments out of it. It would be better if we could all work together, live in a close and safe community while adding value to each other's lives. May we return to that sacred vision of the tribes and find the harmony that can exist and does exist if we return to the soul of Cannon Beach. And at the end, love and kindness will always win. The heart and soul of a dream will be fulfilled. Sometimes we have to discover that some dreams and passions have purpose and are just bigger than us. I choose to follow the heart and soul of their dream.
Thank you. Okay, next in that row. Did you want to speak? Anybody else in that row? No? Okay, now we're back to the back row. No, third row. I was right the first time. Okay. But
Tom Landrum, your box 865. I'm here tonight because I talked to a lot of people in the post office. And they've got very mixed feelings about this. Oh, price tag for damn sure. And for some reason or other, they can't find the time to come up here and speak to you about it. Maybe they're bashful, but I'm here to represent them, okay? And the price tag is too much.
Yes.
You know, we're signing up for a huge debt. The design I've seen of the Nakus facility, that's lovely, but I don't think it fits in. I heard that it's also got an emergency generator. What's going to be that requirement? I don't understand. That may be wrong, but that's what I heard in a presentation. We need to revisit what we're trying to do here. There's a big difference between what we need and what we want. And I think right now, what we want is, far outweighing what we need here. Please take that into consideration. Everybody feels we're on a runaway train here. And it may be too long, it's already left the station, you can't stop it. But we can control the speed of it and how much we're going to spend. A lot of this is going to be paid for by the transportation lodging tax. I don't know how many of you have been in these facilities that we're going to collect this money from. They're all in need of serious upgrades. Are they going to be able to support us for 30 years? Not without a lot of expenditure. So this whole thing may fall apart. And you need to be thinking about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next in that row.
Hello, my name is Todd Lawson, and I'm a member of the Clatsop Nehalem tribe. I'll be speaking my own opinions. I've been Seattle, Washington, John Street. And but I'm one of the few people in this room that has been to every event. I've been at the side meetings and the public meetings, and I've driven down from Seattle. I don't know how many times, doesn't really matter. But so I'm going to talk a little bit about the process of this, how we got here. So we see this, I see this process is made up of many different things. One is the people, and I'm one of those people in the process, and I come with my mission statement. And my mission statement is make a great project that represents the tribe, but also I'm an architect. So I've been pounding, and people can attest to my tenacity. I'm making a great building for the city and the state and the world. It could be world-class, I really believe. So so along that in that process, there needs to be agreed upon facts. And that's such a hard thing in today's environment. But there's a few things that I've even learned today, and me going to every meeting and learning more today is not a good thing, right? And on both the opposition and the pros, there's just some things we need to agree upon. Like, for example, cutting down trees. I've been accused of, I want to cut down all the trees. That's not the case. We might cut down some trees, but we're going to put back more in place. And the tree canopy will be better at the end. Property taxes. Property taxes are not, at the moment, part of this. And there's people sending emails that state right on it, your property taxes are going to go up. Other items include, they've ruined the access for the fire trucks. We've had civil engineers look at this project and shown that it works, and they have diagrams, but the process perhaps didn't share enough information. And that's where I start to turn a little criticism on the process, where the budget is a fact. Right now, the budget is a fact, but clearly it's not agreed upon. And how do we bring those two things together? I'm not going to comment on that part of the budget, but what I will comment on is the tribe's participation is not driving the budget. If you scrape out the things that are for us, and I mean, it'll be for everybody in the end, but very tribe-centric, it's just a fraction of this budget. So if I hear people in the background, I get these emails that are forwarded to me that are racist, and I'll let it slide for now. But if the silver bullet is removing us from the process, to get a third of the way done. Anyways, so I hope we can work better on the design review process. That was actually the thrust of my thing, is the design review process fell apart. Both sides failed. The architect failed to present, and the design review process failed to, it was bad. you're sitting here uneducated, not knowing what the building really is. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next.
734-97110. I'm a board member for the Cannon Beach Food Pantry. And we have been feeding people since April 15, 2009, every Wednesday. Every Wednesday. We're currently in the location of the old grade school. Now, I've heard talk that somehow we're losing that building. I mean, it's ugly, yes. It needs repair, oh, yes. But we're staying. Nothing the city has said we're losing the pantry. As a matter of fact, they've given us information to make us believe that we can stay there. We've had the enormous support of the tribe. Heaven's sakes, how beautiful, yes. Because right now, every Wednesday, people gather there, and they get food. We don't eat it there, but there's a lot of sharing and love that happens there. It will be remodeled. That ugly building is not going to stay there. I mean, it will be the same basic building, but the funds to support that building are not part of the grade school thing. We'll have our own funding sources. So far as I know, the pantry board has not received one question about whether we are staying there or not. I've been on the board for years. Nobody's ever asked me. And yet I'm hearing around town that we're being moved. And so that's another one of those little things. I heard tonight that there's going to be parking on site. I don't remember who said it. There's no parking for the school property. There's parking for the food pantry on Wednesdays and delivery days only. That's my understanding of what's going to happen. Let's see. The mission of the Cannon Beach Food Pantry is to provide food and essentials to the needy in our community in a loving and compassionate manner. And that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, I apologize. My outburst at the first of the meeting.
Okay, I'll think about forgiveness. Okay, next in that row. Anybody else in that row? Okay, I see a couple stragglers on the wall. The wall row, it's your turn.
Watt Childress. My wife Jennifer and I live on a small farm at 40660 North Fork Road in Nahalem, Oregon. We also own a lot on Ross Lane here in Cannon Beach and a downtown shop that's been around for about 35 years, Jupiter's Books. I wish to thank every Clatsop and Nahalem Tillamook person who first made human relationships with this special place. In 2005, I met some descendants of these people when they asked me to serve as a witness at a potlatch that coincided with the Lois and Clark bicentennial. Since that time, I've carried water for them to the best of my ability. I've done so because I believe that improving our human care for creation involves building respectful relationships with the descendants of Indigenous people. For Jennifer and I, this friendship meant working to help the descendants of natives who once lived in this place, to make sure that they would have a voice in determining what happens with the old elementary school. At one point, we were discussing strategy with the North Coast Land Conservancy that would have enabled the Clatsop and Nahalem Confederated Tribes to become owners of the property. Jennifer and I offered to use our savings to buy the property from the school district and temporarily hold it until we raised the necessary grant funding to pass it along to CNCT. For various reasons, the tribe decided they didn't want to own it. My point here is that my support for them runs deep. Due to family obligations, I've been unable to participate in many of the listening sessions with the architects hired to renovate the school. Up until last May, I entrusted that as long as the Clatsop Nahalem were clearly included in renovation plans, the architects would come up with project design that supported community needs while honoring tribal heritage. In May, however, I had heard enough concerns in the community to be very worried about the outcome. I wrote a letter to my good friends at the tribe asking that they come together with key long-term community advocates for the project in order to discuss a plan that would bring us all closer together. They never responded. Since then, I've done my best to communicate with my old friends, including a letter in September inviting them to participate in the local celebration of Native American Heritage Month. They committed to attend a week before the event, and we moved and squeezed the times of other attendees so that they had an hour to speak first on the day they chose to come. It was an amazing weekend that proved how local community groups can work together as a team to pull off a major event in just a few months. We showcased existing venues. We featured Native artists and presenters, some who grew up in Cannon Beach, others who are friends who live elsewhere. There were full house crowds at the Coaster Theater, Cannon Beach History Center and Museum, and Tolobano Hall. I want to see more of those kinds of events. We'll have more money to do that if we spend less lodging tax dollars on the school renovation, bring the project back to a scale that fits with the rest of our town. Our capacity for being inspiring hosts will also grow if we make sure this new project is fully integrated with existing community groups and venues. I look forward to working with anyone who wants to help make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else in the council chambers? Okay, so then we're going to go to Zoom. And if you are on Zoom and would like to speak, we're going to ask you to, oh, strange talking to Zoom. Hey, Zoom, you listening? I'd like you to raise your hand and we will allow you to speak. You'll see the timer visible on the screen. And again, just a reminder, we're kind and respectful, and you give your mailing address and full name. So who would like to go first?
Michelle's got her hand up.
Okay, Michelle?
I'm gonna go first.
Okay, there's some background noise.
Oh, wait, here.
Not coming from this audience. And again, just a reminder, we're kind and respectful. And
Wait,
give your mailing address and full name.
Okay.
Who's that? Who would you like to go first?
They got my neck.
Okay, Michelle? Okay, Michelle.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm trying to turn it. Okay, here. Hold
Can you
on.
hear us?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can, yes.
Okay. Oh, I gotta turn this up. So I live about, oh wait, I have to say my name. Michelle Valagura, P.O. Box 719. And I just want to let you know I live about 5 feet from the city hall here. And I have about 12 people that want to speak after me. If that's okay. Okay. So I'll just do my piece really quick, first. I just wanted to mirror Anita's. I supported what Anita said, and I think she did a really good job. And that's about it. But so I want to move it on to the next person. Is that okay with everybody? Because we're all here right next to you, but 5 feet away. So I'm going to move it on to the next person. Is that cool?
Sure.
Okay. So who wants to go next? Oh, sure. Okay, here we have. Okay, next person. Hey, this is Lolly Allsop, P.O. Box 1038. I'm sure there are plenty of people in that room that know me. I've lived in this community for almost 35 years. I've worked in a lot of restaurants over the last 21 plus years. You know, I deeply, deeply care about this community. And I even though I did not go to Cannon Beach Elementary, I went to Fire Mountain. I had lots of friends growing up that went to Cannon Beach Elementary. And one of the wonderful things that we were able to learn about were the indigenous peoples that lived in our beautiful community. And I would love to be able to honor them. But I think that this proposal at its best is absurd, and at its worst is insidious that we were even thinking about doing something like this instead of addressing the issues with the lack of housing for the people that are providing services for tourists or visitors in this town. I have, in the last number of years, I have watched a lot of my friends, that some of them grew up in this town, be forced out, because we are not doing anything to combat, you know, the housing crisis in town. People having either legal or illegal Airbnbs. We also have no plan for any of the parking issues that are massively huge. I own a business in town and live downtown. I have no parking. I mean, it's ridiculous to think that young people trying to support and survive in this community shouldn't have anywhere to live, shouldn't have anywhere to park, to be able to get to their jobs, to work for these visitors that are coming into town, trying to enjoy the beauty of this community. I think that we've missed the mark pretty hard. I mean, in the 70s, when my family first got their first house down here, Josh Tuckman's father laughed at my grandmother when she said she wanted to rent a house seasonally, because that's not what you do in this community. This is an artist community. And what you do is you buy a house, you come and stay at it for 3 months out of the year. And then during the off season, when you're not here visiting with your family and your kids, you're renting it out to local artists in the community. And I don't know why we've deviated so far from caring about the people that support this community on their backs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Who's next? Anyone? Go Sam. Go Sam.
My name is Sam Block. I'm at PO Box 1413. I have lived here for 8.5 years and grown to absolutely love this town and the people in it. And I've worked in so many different places in town and now work for myself. And all along the way, I've had help from so many people in the community, and they are the reason that I want to be here, and they are the reason I'm still here, from everywhere, from the work that I do to the place that I currently live. And I've lived in about 14 different places since I have been here, and have known a lot of people who have had to leave because of no place to live. I have had to leave for short periods of time for the reasons of having no place to live. It bothers me that your entire push on this project is focused around tourism, when all of the businesses that I have worked at and loved working at, and the businesses my close friends own, have to suffer because they are all understaffed and they need employees. And I've worked at many of those places where the tourists who we are trying to bring into town are anything but kind, because they're having to wait longer than they're used to. They're having to put up with all of these things that they're not used to putting up with here because of how bad the housing situation has gotten. And it bothers me and discourages me a lot to see that nothing is being done on that front when we are talking about spending this much money on a project that is not even clear in any way. So I do not support this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I don't. I didn't talk to my. I have to be able to see, so I need a little bit of light.
Oh, okay. We can turn lights on.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
All right, I'm coming. Hi, my name is Jennifer Childress. I live at 40660 North Fork Road in Nehalem. I also own a lot in Cannon Beach, and my husband and I own Jupiter's Books in Cannon Beach. My family moved here in 1977 when I was 14 years old. And we've been involved over the years. My mom worked for Cannon Beach Elementary. She was the kindergarten teacher for a while. She is responsible for the big footsteps that go to the kindergarten. My stepfather was a council member for a while. My oldest daughter went to Cannon Beach Elementary for a while until we moved to Nehalem. I would like to speak to matters of scale. I firmly believe that we can be in full support of educational mission and the elementary school renovation and the celebration of the heritage of the Clatsop Nehalem without also being in support of the scale and cost of the project as it has developed over time. And I just want to also say that it is heartbreaking to me to be on the opposite side of this issue from people that I love and care about. An example from my own life illustrates this. Years ago, I was recycling coordinator for the city of Santa Cruz. We needed a processing facility to support the activities in the curbside recycling program. And at the time, we thought it made sense to locate the building at the landfill where our sorting operation was already happening. Over time, as the city civil engineers went to work on developing the plans, it became clear that the building would need substantial extra support as we are sitting on top of old fill. Projected costs leapt upward. At the time, I lacked the experience to see that we should step back and rethink our assumptions about the project. I just wanted to get it done. The building went up and was extremely expensive. Looking back, I see that we could have taken a breath, rethought our assumptions, and saved hundreds of thousands of dollars by locating the recycling operation elsewhere. And I know that's not an exactly parallel example, but it is an example of looking at costs running up so high and then realizing, oh, maybe we need to rethink this. I say this because cost does matter. When excessive dollars are put toward capital projects, the effects are felt down the line. In our case here in Cannon Beach, one thing I see happening is that a more expensive facility will contribute to driving up the cost of being in Cannon Beach, and that leads to wealthier participants being the only ones who can afford it. We already have that happening here with both full-time housing and short-term lodging being virtually unavailable to regular folks. I'm asking that we pause and consider the consequences of building this very expensive building on the costs and the effect on our community, as well as the kind of visitors who can afford to come here to experience, enjoy, and learn from this special place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else wants it?
Lindsay.
Yeah, go.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Oilabond, and I live at 435 Silver Point Court, Cannon Beach, Florida. I grew up in Cannon Beach. My mom grew up in Cannon Beach. I went to school at Cannon Beach Elementary, went to Broadway and Seaside High School, and went off to college. In college, I had dreams of moving back to this town, and I convinced my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband and father of my daughter, who now was in kindergarten at the Cannon Beach Academy, to move here with me. And now we are here helping run our 4 family businesses. In so few words, I do not want my old grade school to become an event center catered and fiscally obligated to tourism. I want to see the city council focus on the bones and building blocks of our community, and see that in order for Cannon Beach to have a semblance of the atmosphere it had when I grew up here, is to focus on helping those that live and work here and what they may need to keep the town running, which is not a large tourist event center destination to rent out to the quickest and highest bidder. Tourism is thriving in Cannon Beach. What is not thriving is available housing for those that live and work here, in a better grade school that is not in an old daycare center. Thank you.
Do you want to do it, Jess?
I will go.
Good, Jess.
You got her name, Barb. Yeah, Lindsay.
Right. Hello, my name is Jessica Alexander. I am at PO Box 1148 here in Cannon Beach. I've grown up in this town. I am raising my son in this town. He goes to Broadway Middle School, or not Broadway, but Seaside Middle School. I've worked in this town since I was 12 years old. I have supported and loved and enjoyed
almost every moment that I've been here. And I love the thought of a community center where my son and his friends, or where myself and my friends, or families and people that love and live in this community can go and spend time together and connect and have beautiful moments and make beautiful memories. And yes, tourists, sure, they can join us too. They are wonderful people. We make friends with them. They end up coming back year after year, and you build beautiful relationships with them. I have my entire life. I've worked in tourism. I have been in the hospitality industry for 20 years, and it is the biggest joy to me. I love it. That's why I've stayed here. That's why I've chosen to raise my son here. I have had to move from house to house to house within the last 5 years because houses kept getting sold because the money was so good. People stopped renting homes, and it's really, really hard. Luckily, I found a wonderful woman who only will rent to someone who works and lives in this town and wants to support the community that she loves to tourist to. She stays at the hotel that lives down the street from the house that she owns. And she loves this place. And I wish that we could embody that kind of love for this town through our community that she does. It is beautiful, and we love it here. You guys obviously love it here. You're all here. I mean, come on, guys. That's what we're here for. It's fucking Cannon Beach. But I mean, it's really sad to see this project not be what you guys have been painting it as and advertising it as, because that would be freaking amazing. I would love a community center. I would love a Native American Heritage Center. And I just think that that would be so amazing. But what I've seen and what I've heard is not what you guys are doing. It's not the plans. It's not anything that you guys are actually going to do from what you guys have planned out. And that's really, really disappointing. As someone who loves this community, as someone who works really hard in this community and just wants to see us do our best. We're not. We can do better. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
What was her name?
Anyone else? Are there any other speakers in the room? Okay. All right. I think our group.
Thank you very much.
One thing you can say. One more. Anything.
Okay.
Last one. Lynn Halderson, PO Box 1151. I don't have too much to add.
Can you say your name again, please?
Sure, Lynn Halderson.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. I don't have too much to add because I do agree with everybody, at least in this room that I'm sitting in. And one, it would have been really great to have been in the room. I understand the no standing. However, I know that there is an overflow room, and that would have been amazing to actually be a part of what's happening here, because the group that I'm with right now, like, this is our town. We're a group of, I would say, 30 somethings for the most part, and ish. But I mean, this is like what people have said before me is we live here, we work here. This is our community in our town. And to see something happen like this, that you're just setting us up for failure. Basically, what I want to do is live here my entire life. And I moved here in 2010, and I don't have to be here. And it's making it very hard to be here. I've moved a total of 9 times, I think, since 2010 for the same reasons that's been said before me. But I pour my life and my love into this town and its people. And something like this is just making it difficult to see a future here. So mostly I just ask to change, to listen to what everyone before me has been saying, and to actually listen and to actually take action. And I would appreciate that, because I love this town and I want to be a part of this town for as long as I possibly can. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call.
One more,
On that
please.
household.
Hello. Hi,
Yeah.
this is Lisa Nofield, PO Box 843. And I've lived in Cannon Beach almost 30 years, and I love this community. And my husband and I have businesses here. We've raised our children here. And we appreciate the eclectic group of people that live in Cannon Beach. And, you know, my husband didn't speak tonight because he felt like you weren't going to listen to him. And I gave up my seat this evening for Laurel to come in and to speak because she was outside and couldn't come in. So I'm very disappointed because we keep talking to you about what we want, and I feel like you're not paying attention. And, you know, I'm concerned that we're going to bankrupt our community by all of these projects at once. I don't see how it is a good idea. I appreciate the heart and soul that all of you in this room have put into these projects. I do appreciate the Native American history and our nature here. I love this community and it's beautiful, and I love tourism. But we really need to think about how we're going to spend the money going forward. There's only so much money for these projects. And please hear our voices. And we've been to other meetings, and we have to work together to keep this community going strong and for future generations. So thank you for listening. Please consider this financial price tag that is going to cost too much money. Please cut back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is that it for that household?
Okay, I think the overflow room is done.
Okay.
You can move on.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to speak? Raise your hand. That isn't in that household. Anybody?
Oh.
You know, you're raising your hand if you want to speak.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, Paul Duber, P.O. Box 549. I'll make this very short and sweet. When we first got started on this, Bruce called me and we took our group down to the gymnasium and had a great time with about a 20 or 30-minute concert. We listened to all the echoes in there and have been paying very close attention to this. Unfortunately, neither Margot nor I have attended all of the meetings leading up to this point here. However, in retrospect, we would ask the council to step back a bit and reconsider the costs on this, number one. And number two, I have been involved with the Chamber of Commerce and the business community here and have lived here. Our family's been in Cannon Beach in one form or another since 1942. And one of the things that has always come around has been parking issues. They are phenomenal in the summertime, no problem in the wintertime. But to suggest that that event center, which is designed to be, is going to accommodate parking that isn't going to end up in business parking, not going to end up on street parking in front of people's homes where they generally park. I think it's extremely short-sighted not to have off-street parking at that location that will support use of that facility, whether it's summer or winter. So please step back just a little bit, reconsider some of the costing on this, and please pay attention to the parking, which I think could be a real hazardous and outbalanced situation ongoing. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else that's on Zoom, raise your hand if you want to speak.
Okay, Susan.
Hello, this is Susan Glaren, P.O. Box 108, Cannon Beach. Dear staff and city council, while I appreciate all the time, effort, and expense that has gone into discussing plans for the renovated grade school, I agree with many others that the grandiose scheme that has been proposed is impressive indeed, but not in scale or keeping with what our town needs or wants. Please take a breather to re-examine where this project is going and find ways to scale it back down to something that fits our town. The focus should be on honoring the Clatsop Nehalem peoples and allowing their voices to be heard above all others. This would be the respectful thing to do. Thank you for considering my words.
Thank you.
Randy Neal.
Okay.
Unmute yourself, Randy.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Randy Neal, P.O. Box 1092. I'm like a lot of other people. This is not an argument against any spirit of any project. The real issue is the dollars and scope that have been assigned. Cannon Beach is a natural spot, with nature's beauty and spiritual and cultural heritage. And deep down, I think we all know that money and development dollars will be its downfall. The tourism tax is both a blessing and a curse. It's free money. And we're starting to realize what free money has done to us over the last 40 years. And the Planning Commission and DRB are struggling with topics like the double lots and wetlands and what size houses and et cetera. And basically, tourism dollars is the next generation of free money that we're going to have to deal with. I'd like to talk about a couple of fallacies. One fallacy is visitors are paying, so this is free money. Yes, the tourists and food and lodging taxes are going to pay for the bond payments, but we are pretty highly leveraged against them all. In fact, we had to raise the lodging tax just to be able to afford these budgets. But an earthquake, flood, or tsunami is expected to occur. And how do we know? Because we're planning on it. We put millions of dollars into these budgets to deal with it. If we didn't think it would be prudent, we wouldn't have designed it to that level. And when one of those things comes, tourist tax receipts are going to fall, and they're going to fall hard. And who pays then? Who pays when the tourist dollars are deficient? The bonds are full faith and credit. So the answer is city taxpayers. And would we have insurance for this? No, they don't provide that kind of thing. And are we setting aside any financial reserves to sustain us for months and months? Not really. And that's probably one of the reasons we should look at the scale of this and affordability of this and try to find smaller projects that are cost reduced or phased in time. Another fallacy is, I'll call it the ecology and tribal space as an event center. Well, we've heard that we can provide an adequate experience in a much smaller space footprint. Think the Cannon Beach History Center, maybe even as an adjunct or an expansion of that. The park doesn't really require fancy elements if it's not designed as an event center. Less is better for the elk. The park can easily be done in phases over time. Heck, there's already $1 million earmarked in the park's master plan and already approved in the SDC charges for improvements. So we don't need something that big to basically do what is right for the tribal elements. A third fallacy is there won't be duplication or competition. In reality, there's only 3 tourist periods. There's peak season, peak times, basically 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay, Randy, you're over the time limit, so wrap it up.
Sure. Well, there's 3 spots. Off season, we don't have solutions for. It's November, December, it's January, February. Tourists don't come here. Peak season, peak times, we know that's just more congestion and more competition with people walking around. And then peak time, off time, nobody has a hotel room. They're all full. Nobody's coming over for an event and then driving back to the
Time's
city.
up. Thank you. You went over my peak. Okay, next.
We've already called on them. They still have their hand up.
Okay. Anybody else on Zoom, please raise your hand if you want to speak. Anyone?
Not seeing anyone, Barb.
Okay. Okay, I would like to thank everyone that is here in the room and is here on Zoom. All of our people that led off the sessions. I don't know if the fire department's still here, but thank you for maintaining good control. And I really do appreciate the kindness and respect that was shown tonight. We will be addressing this issue at our January 9th work session. We have lots of meetings in December that, there's a holiday too mixed in there. And so we will, as a council, be discussing this work session at our January 9th work session.